Hi guys, it's your girl First Lady Ronnie. I'm live in London in this beautiful office of HNWI and Partners, and I'm here with my friend, my brother, who lives in London and works with HNWI and Partners. He's a migration expert, originally from New Zealand, and he is a lawyer, right? Immigration, he's an expert in migration. So he currently works here as one of their migration consultants. I came all the way here to see him and have a discussion with him so we can give wealthy families an opportunity for migration as well. Because currently we do have a lot of offers for the average, person, middle class or middle income earner, and we are looking at how we can also reach out to the wealthy families who are also interested in migrating and are not interested in the offers that are currently available for the average person, whether in Ghana, Nigeria, or wherever you are in the world. So I'm happy to be here and I'm glad to see you today. I hope you're happy to see me too.
Likewise, definitely.
Okay.
Hello everybody.
Okay, thank you, Troy. To say that this is not for everybody, so if you see this video and you think that this is too expensive, why should I spend this much money on this? It means that it's not for you. It goes to those who can't afford it, and there's also something for you who can't afford this, okay? Thank you very much. So Troy, why I'm here is because there are so many people that I have seen or spoken to that I believe that are capable of, migrating with the kind of offers that your company has. But unfortunately, I think the message is not getting to them because all they think about is the money is too huge and why should they spend that much money? So I want you to, get to them, explain to them why it is important to do this and the long-term benefits. So we can start with what your offers are all about, and we can take it, offer by offer, break it down, and then talk about the cost that is involved and what benefits it comes with for the interim and then the future benefit as well. Okay.
Of course. Okay, so thank you, Ronnie, for the introduction. So I guess HNWI and Partners, we are experts in residence and citizenship by investment, which means gaining that permanent status in the country. So it's not a work visa, it's not a temporary visa, student visa. It's something that is permanent for life. Obtaining that through investment. And this can be a second passport. This can literally be a passport to hold with your Ghanaian passport or your Nigerian passport, as the case may be. And you have 2 travel documents for life. Your children will have that for life. So this is the field we work in. So because it is through investment, the investment levels are, they're not small. And as Ronnie said, that's why it appeals to wealthier families who are trying to make these strategic investments.
Okay, before you continue, what's the difference between residence and then citizenship? Because people need to get the difference and know what to choose. Why should they go for the residence offer or why should they go for the citizenship offer? Because I think they are 2 different things, right?
Sure.
Can you explain that? Yeah.
That's right. So residence usually is it is a visa, and it's usually for the purposes of moving and living in a country.
Okay.
So for example, we can help families to invest in the UK and get residents to come and live here. We can do this in Australia, we can do this in Canada, we can do this in many different countries. You invest, get the resident visa. Usually it's in your Ghanaian, your Nigerian passport. Okay. The other one is citizenship, and this is a passport. Citizenship usually means you can immediately get a passport of that country. So we're helping people to invest in, I think there's about 7 or 8 countries we work with. You invest in these countries, you can have the passport in 3 or 4 months, let's say. The benefit of a passport, obviously, you can travel with this. So you hold your Ghanaian passport, you hold a second, and with the second passport, you can travel to a huge number of countries. Sometimes the US, Canada, UK, Australia, these sorts of countries. Visa-free, no need to apply for a visit visa.
Okay, so what you are saying is that with the residents, they still hold on to their original citizenship. So if you're a Ghanaian, you're a Nigerian, Liberian, whatever, and you go for the residence program, you still hold on to your citizenship, but you now have a second home. You have a residence in the particular country that you are going for. So say the UK, if you decide to do the UK residence, you are a Ghanaian and you are now a UK resident. That's what you mean. But if you decide to go for the citizenship one, you are a Ghanaian and you are a British citizen at the same time, because you now have two passports, one for Ghana and one for Britain. So that's the difference. So when it comes to cost, what are we looking at here? Is the residence cheaper than the citizenship?
So yes, usually the residence is a bit more affordable because it's only a visa, whereas the passport is usually a bit more expensive. So some examples would be, in the UK we can help you to invest and get residence here for about 50 to 100,000 pounds. In Portugal, around 200,000 euros. In Canada, you're looking at about 300,000 Canadian dollars. So that's the kind of level there. With citizenships, it can range from about 100, 200,000 for Caribbean passports to up to €1 million for a European passport that would be visa-free to USA, Canada. So yeah, generally citizenships are more expensive.
Okay. So there's this issue with why pay, for example, you said in the UK, 50 to about 100,000 pounds to get a residence, right? And like I said earlier, this information is going to benefit the wealthy families. Why I'm saying this is, there are people who believe that, well, I can come on a student visa, or I can come on a tier 2 skilled worker visa, stay on the visa, tier 2 skilled worker, you stay on the visa for about 5 years, then you are eligible to apply for indefinite leave to remain. That's after 5 years, right? So that's a long time. You can do a lot in 5 years before you qualify to apply for indefinite leave to remain. That means you are now getting your residence in the UK. For the students, you have to stay on that visa for 10 years before you are qualified to even apply for indefinite. Now, why I'm bringing this is, why should people consider going for your residence program as to going through the school route or the skilled worker route, or sometimes a spouse visa? They can get married here and then go through the spouse visa route, which will also take them about 5 years to qualify for indefinite leave. What's the advantage? Because that's how they think. Why not just get married to somebody here? Why not just come to school? And you're looking at the money now, forgetting that there might be a reason why it's better to go for the residence. So could you please give us why?
Sure. Well, it as you said, it's for different people. If you're a student, then maybe it's suitable to come here on a student visa, but you'll be paying international student fees. It will be a lot more expensive. If you're a worker and you want to come here and work in the UK, maybe that's suitable. But if you're a businessman in Ghana or Nigeria, you have a business you need to run, but you still want to spend a lot of time here in the UK without any restrictions, then these business visas are the most suitable. Because if you come here on a work visa, you must stay at that employer. You must work full time, you're stuck there. If that's not suitable for you, if you have a business in Ghana, then it makes much more sense to get a visa. It opens up your options, no restrictions. And secondly, the pathway to citizenship, the passport is much easier. So if you're, as you said, a student, it's going to take about 10 years until a passport. That's a huge amount of time. If you're doing these business visas, the pathway to citizenship is much easier.
So basically, because with the business visas, you are investing in the economy. So you are seen more like an asset. So getting the citizenship will be easier for you than someone else who is working and in a way taking, even though you are contributing your skills, you're also taking away from the economy. So it's easier for someone with a business visa to get their citizenship approved and getting their passport. So in a nutshell, if you're a businessman and you are looking at ways to move to the UK or spend more time in the UK, invest here, bring a branch of your business here, and whatever you want to do with limited restrictions compared to being on a student visa or on a skilled worker visa or a spouse visa or a dependent visa, it is better to go this way. Lesser time to get your residence approved, am I right?
That's right.
To apply for this visa, how long does it take?
So for you'll become essentially a resident in a few months. If you've got the business visa, you make an application, should be a few months. Then your children, if you bring them, they're considered domestic students, so they won't pay international fees. They'll pay the fees that British citizens pay here. So that's an immediate benefit for them. a lot faster process.
So how many years do they get the initial visa? Is it 5 years, 2 years, 3 years?
Initially 2 years, but then after that 2 years, we show the government that you're creating your business, you're doing what you said you would do, and then we can get you another 3 years.
Okay.
That
so it becomes 5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
That should be enough to get you to the passport.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's continuous support. That's the good news. The office is always available after your first 2 years. Of course, you need to prove, like many other visas, student, work, and whatever. You always need to prove. If you came here with a work visa, you need to prove that you're actually working to be able to renew that visa. So it's the same thing. You came here on a business visa for 2 years and you can't prove that you actually run a business in the UK, then it means that you probably be disqualified to get the visa renewed. So as long as you stick to the intention of you being here, the chances of getting the renewal done is very easy with the same team. And then, like you said, after 5 years, you'll be eligible to get your British passport. Now, another advantage I see here is the fact that the other visas do not give your children the opportunity to benefit, like the citizens here in terms of going to school. So if you have kids and your kids migrate with you in your work visa or a student visa, they will still have to pay international fees if they want to school in the UK. Mm-hmm. However, with this option, the business visa, once you move your business here and you're running your business here, your kids have the opportunity to pay home fees like domestic students, right? Mm-hmm. So sure. That's another advantage we don't see. So you see, you look at the initial cost and then you think that no, this is not for me, or this is too much, why should I throw money away? But look at the amount of benefits that you are going to get for yourself, your family, and also your generation. Because once you get your citizenship approved, it affects your whole family, right?
Of course.
And then your family, your kids grow up, they get married, their spouses benefit, their kids benefit, and then it stays in the family perpetually. Am I correct?
That's right, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's how the residence program works. So apart from the UK, where you invest in a business or you move a business here or something, is there any other option like investing in real estate? If not for the UK, any other country, and what other option of residence is available? Is it just business they have to invest in, or they can invest in other stuff?
Mm-hmm. So the UK is good, obviously, for people who want to spend time here. You really have to have a commitment to want to spend at least half a year in the UK. There's other resident visas that you can hold without having to spend time in the country. So one really good example is Portugal that I mentioned earlier. So with Portugal, you can invest $280,000 into real estate, buying quality real estate that you can rent out, receive rental incomes, yield, and so forth. And that's a Portugal resident visa. After 5 years, it can become a Portuguese passport. You don't have to live in Portugal, so you can stay in Ghana the whole time. You just spend the 5 years, and then you'll be literally granted this Portuguese passport, which is one of the best in the world. It's visa-free to the US, Canada, Australia, very strong.
So the difference between the UK and Portugal is we are looking at two different kind of clients here. There are clients who are okay to move and then stay in the country that they are interested in, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are a businessman and you don't mind living in the UK for up to 6 months a year,
6 months, yeah.
For up to 6 months a year, if you are comfortable doing that and it doesn't affect your business or your plans back home, then the UK is the right choice for you. But if you are the type of businessman that can't stay in a particular location for up to 6 months, then Portugal is best, because with Portugal you can stay in Ghana and still get everything run, and the properties are going to be managed by the same company, so you are safe. That's right. Right? So you are not just buying the property and you don't know how it's being managed. It's still going to be managed on your behalf. So monthly you'll be getting some money accumulating for you in Portugal. You open your account in Portugal in euros, and then you get your money every month. You can always travel to Portugal on holidays. Do they get access to this apartment if they want to use it on holidays?
Of course. So you have the choice of renting it out for income, or you can use this property for your own personal use. Okay. It's up to you.
Okay. But if they don't rent it out, right, and they want to keep it for their own use, as and when they come to Portugal, would you advise it to be a good option, especially if they are not living there permanently, because they have to be paying taxes and all that, right?
So, I mean, the property itself, the rental income, you pay a a local tax on the income that you get
Okay.
from Portugal.
Okay.
Yes, I mean
So not on the property, but the income you make from the rental of the property.
correct. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
personally, I would advise, if you are not looking at staying there permanently, I think you should rent it out rather than keeping it there and paying for maintenance and all that and not living in the property. So these are two separate options. Those who wish to move and those who do not wish to move, Portugal will be the best option. And this property you are buying, can you resell it later in future?
Of course,
Possible?
yes. It's the client keeps it for themselves. Must just hold it for that 5-year period
Okay.
until the passport
Okay.
is granted.
Okay, so once you get your passport, you are free to resell the property if you don't want it anymore.
Of course.
And mind you, you don't get a passport alone as the investor. Your wife, your kids,
And your parents.
and good news, even your parents get to benefit. So that's the advantage of Portugal over UK, right?
Yes.
UK doesn't benefit the parents, but for Portugal it benefits the parents. So
Correct.
personally, like I said, if you don't have the money for this, it will sound to you like, it doesn't make sense. But if you look at the advantages and the benefits, it goes a long way to benefit your entire generation. Because even in Ghana at the moment, you can get homes that cost as high as $350,000. In fact, I've seen homes that are up to $1 million and even more in Ghana.
Yeah.
So if you can afford, and there are people buying those properties in Ghana, right? So if you can afford to buy a property in Ghana, $200,000, $300,000 and more, then it means that you can afford to get properties in Portugal for residents, and after 5 years, and like I said, you don't even need to relocate. You can still be in Ghana, you have a residence in Portugal, you get monthly income, and after 5 years, you get your Portuguese passport, which makes you an EU citizen, right? So
right.
just an investment of 280,000 euros. After 5 years, you become an EU citizen. Just look at this. Troy, can you tell us, apart from having an EU passport through the Portugal passport, what benefit do they get? I know, for one, becoming an EU citizen means you can visit all the EU countries without restrictions. Am I correct?
Not just visit, you can live anywhere in the EU.
Okay.
That's 20-something countries that if you choose to live in Spain, Germany, France, Italy, the whole
So those
place.
are the Schengen countries that you can live there. What about the other countries that are not Schengen in the European Union? Would they be able to live there?
So then it's just visiting for them.
Okay.
But it's the Schengen that with the Portugal passport.
You can actually live there for up to
live
6 months or
Full
for as
time.
long as long.
for life.
Wow.
Your kids
This is
can
interesting.
study there. As European students,
Wow.
you can retire there. You have access to the healthcare systems, education systems, everything.
Wow. Wow. This is good news. You get to live in any of the Schengen countries of your choice without restrictions. There's no time frame. Like in some countries, when you move to another country, you have up to 6 months. Right? Like for example, if you have a British passport and you go to Canada, the maximum you can stay is 6 months if you're on visit.
That's true.
But with the Portugal passport, if you go to any of the Schengen countries, there's no restrictions. Your kids can live in school in those areas, enjoy free medical. The medical care, it depends on the country. Some have free medical care, some don't, so it depends. If there's free medical care, you get to benefit. Free education, you get to benefit. So whatever benefits that Schengen country has, automatically, you also get to benefit with your entire family. So personally, I think this is an investment that is really worth it, because apart from the fact that the Portugal passport can take you to, like you said, US without visa, not even an e-visa, without visa, right?
Without a visa.
Canada, same. Australia, what about New Zealand?
Yes, definitely.
Wow. And what about the UK? Now that we have this whole Brexit, do they have to apply for a visa to come to the UK?
That's a good question. No, you don't need to apply for a visa. It's still visa free as a visitor on your Portugal passport. You have 6 months in the UK. 10 years ago, as Portuguese, you could come and live here.
For as long as you want.
Not since Brexit. Since Brexit, it's 6 months visit visa. Yeah.
So they now have the same opportunities as going to Canada, US, Australia and all that. So that's the good thing about it. The fact that there's Brexit and all the Europeans had to leave, there are still some countries in the European Union that can still come to the UK without a visa. And Portugal is one of them. So I think it says it all. Looking at all the benefits that we've put together, unless there's something that we've left out. Personally, I think we have touched on every area. What do you think? Is there anything else?
So we can talk about the Caribbean passports. I mean,
Okay.
they're very popular in Ghana and
Okay.
Nigeria.
Yeah, so the Caribbean passport is, I think, the most affordable when it comes to a second citizenship among all the packages that are available. So from the beginning, remember we spoke about residence and then citizenship. So these are two different things. We've explained all that from the beginning. But there's another offer he's about to talk about, which has to do with the Caribbean passports. If you know anything about the Caribbeans, Jamaica, Barbados, all those places are the Caribbeans. And there are some areas in the Caribbean that when you have their passport, it also comes with a lot of opportunities and much more affordable than trying to get a passport from Europe, America, and all that. So that's also another alternative for businessmen who just can't be at one place. They just want to be all over the place, explore opportunities all over the world. So kindly give us the areas in the Caribbean, the prices for each area, and then the opportunities that comes with them, and then the various countries that they can visit, especially the countries like UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, China, where people usually do business.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So yes, these second passports are, in terms of citizenships, they're the fastest to get, the most affordable, and they're very, very strong passports. So other processes are taking a lot longer, they're more expensive, but these ones are quick and they're very, very good passports.
Okay.
So in the Caribbean, we work with 5 of them. All 5 countries offer similar programs whereby you can either contribute money, you give money, or you invest into real estate. You have a choice for both. I'll come to the prices shortly, but for all of this, it usually takes 3 or 4 months. You can have passport in hand for all the family, so husband, wife, children, and parents, and sometimes siblings. If your brothers and sisters are living with you, they can be included. So these passports are usually around 100 to 200,000 USD. The donations are more like 100,000. The real estate is more like 250,000 USD. So with the donation, it's a payment that's non-refundable. For real estate, it's an investment that you keep, an asset you keep, and you can sell later on. In terms of the visa-free areas, all of them have visa-free to the UK. These are Commonwealth passports, so they have very strong connections with the UK, always visa-free to here. All of Europe as well, EU Schengen, visa-free to EU. And some notable exceptions is the strict countries. We're talking about the US and Canada, Australia. These three are famously very strict.
Yes.
So unfortunately not visa-free to these countries. However, if you use a St. Lucia passport, St. Kitts and Nevis, some of these Caribbean countries, applying for the US visas is a lot easier. So you can be granted 10-year visit visas, multiple entry to the US. The processing time is much faster than if you are applying for Ghanaian, Nigerian passport.
Yes.
Can be processed very, very fast. So that's the advantage.
Okay, so I think this is quite clear because currently in Ghana, to get an appointment, a common appointment to the US Embassy can take you to as far as April, May, or June, if I'm not mistaken, just to go visit the US Embassy.
Wow.
So imagine being a Ghanaian and you can afford to have this investment. Why do you have to wait this long just to go for an appointment when you have to travel in January, February, or March, but you have to go for an appointment in April, May? So it means that that trip is automatically off. But here's the case where you can have another citizenship. So you become a dual citizen and you get to benefit. So at any point in time, the Ghanaian passport is of benefit to you. You can use it because legally you are recognized as a Ghanaian and recognized as a Caribbean, depending on which of the passports you are holding. So you use this to your advantage every single time. You are not restricted. If you know that you have to be in the US and you want to be there fast, you use your Caribbean passport instead of the Ghanaian passport, like he says. So
that's true.
they obviously in the UK, if you're a student or a worker here, you're applying for a US visa, for instance, you get an interview within the because you are living in the UK. So that's the advantage. So it's the same thing we are trying to say. So if you live in a country where there are this sort of advantages, you get to benefit from them. And that is why we encourage you, if you're a businessman, you need to think about your time, because time is money. Imagine you have to be in the UK and with your Ghanaian passport, you are finding it difficult to get a visa. Why should you, struggle to get a visa when you have the finances and the resources to get a Caribbean passport for you and your entire family, and even siblings? Sometimes, like you said, your siblings who live permanently with you get to benefit from this. So they all get a passport within a maximum of 4 months. Yeah. And once you carry your passport, you buy your tickets. That's all you need. You have no business with the embassies. You don't need to go for any of the European countries visa free. So it means that if you want to go for holidays in Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, wherever you want to go to in the EU, you get to carry your passport, carry your bag, buy your tickets, and you are good to go. No more visas for you and your entire family. I think there used to be one that had visa free to China. Is it still available?
There is one. Grenada is still visa free to China. So business people thinking of that, yeah, yes. You're right.
Yeah, so it's a little bit higher, I remember, in terms of cost.
Slightly higher.
Yeah. So with the 5 countries in the Caribbean, those businessmen that usually go to China, and you know how China business visa application is, you need to keep applying, renewing it from time to time. I don't think it's worth your time and your energy. So if you get this passport, apart from the fact that you get to go to EU, UK, you also get to go to China visa free every single time. So, and of course, your entire family too. So this is a very, very interesting one. What I'm more concerned about is the 2 options that are available. So one of them, like you said, is the donation option. Personally, I find a lot of people who feel like, if I'm donating about $100,000 to get a passport, which is not a bad idea, like I said, it's still an investment. Don't look at it like you're throwing the money away, because it's still an investment for you and your entire family and your generation. However, the second option is if you feel like donating the money, it sounds like you're throwing the money away, then you can increase your budget and go for the real estate option. So you just have to pay slightly higher, and then you know that you have a property in the Caribbean that belongs to you, where you get to receive monthly income.
That's right.
Yeah. So these properties, are they like full houses? Are they apartments? How does it work? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. So the real estate it's not a house or an apartment out in the open market. It's an investment into a real estate development. So usually a large hotel or resort that's being developed. You would earn a proportional share of that development, but with that you would get regular income. So you would still be earning US dollars to hedge against any other currency changes. And then of course after the 5 years you can sell this investment as well for a profit.
Wow. So I think it even makes it better, because this is like a major real estate investment or development that is going on in the country, and you get to be like a shareholder.
That's right.
Like something like that. So it means that the more profits they make, the more profit you also make, right? So everybody gets to have a share based on the investment you are making into that massive development that is going on. So if it's a hotel, it means probably a 5-star. And these are tourist destinations for rich people or wealthy people. So when you go to the Caribbean, you realize that British citizens, American citizens, a lot of European citizens, the wealthy ones, they go for vacations in this destination and they live in very luxurious hotels and all that. And you get to be a shareholder in one of these projects. So every month, like you said, you are earning in US dollars. So if you have any concerns that is it really worth it because you are paying with US dollars, are you going to get your returns on investment? Yes, because you are also going to be earning in US dollars. And the icing on the cake is the fact that you still get to have this passport for you and your entire family. So I think well explained. Definitely going to reach the right people. And if we need to get in touch to have more information, definitely we would have to set up a meeting with you on Zoom. He's always available. He's an international man. It doesn't matter where he is in the world. He's always available to speak to interested applicants. So thank you, Troy. I'm so grateful for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me and making time for me.
Of course.
All right. So guys, this is the end of our interview. Do you have anything you want to say?
No. If you want to have a chat, please reach out. Sometimes I'm in West Africa as well.
Yes.
So I'm here in London, but sometimes in West Africa. I'll be happy to meet.
Thank you guys. Bye.